Just about everywhere on the internet, you're going to learn that this drink was invented to cover up the taste of bathtub gin, and I thought this was going to be an easy little episode for me to film because I knew that that was simply not true. Because Frank Meyer claims to have invented this drink in his 1936 cocktail guide, The Artistry of Mixing Drinks, and I had done this very large research project where I took some 60-odd books that were published during Prohibition and frequency plotted all the drinks that appeared in them to figure out what was the most popular drinks, and the bee's knees doesn't appear in a single one. So I had no reason to suspect that Frank didn't invent this drink until I ran into another, more specific rumor on the internet that sent me back to 1912, specifically April 14th. The RMS Titanic struck an iceberg at 11:40 p.m., and amongst those who were lucky enough to find their way into lifeboats was first-class passenger Margaret Tobin Brown, otherwise known as the unsinkable Molly Brown, who in the freezing dark that night, she threatened to kill a ship's officer who was refusing to take their barely occupied lifeboat back toward the survivors clinging to life in the water. First off, Molly Brown is probably one of history's great, interesting people. By some accounts, hers, they were poverty-stricken, and she dreamed of marrying into money so that she could improve conditions for her ailing, sickened father. But she'd fallen in love with a poor mining engineer named J.J. Brown, and she wound up marrying him. Now, J.J., just like Molly, he's one of these, like, American archetype-type characters who can't be real, but somehow is. After J.J. solves this seemingly impossible cave-in problem at the Little Johnny mine, he becomes fabulously Gilded Age wealthy, and I guess Miss Molly Brown wound up marrying into money after all. She runs for Senate, but winds up suspending her campaign to go to France and work with the Red Cross in World War I, where she organizes ambulances and nurses and food distribution, and was ultimately awarded the French Legion of Honor. She was a patron of the arts and a figure at the center of a lot of going on, but in 1912 she was in France, and her oldest grandchild was sick in the US and she needed to get there, and the Titanic was the boat that was going. And if you dig around online about this drink, you may find that amongst her many achievements, she also invented the bee's knees in 1929 to cover up the taste of bathtub gin. And here's the thing, there's a little bit of evidence for that. There's a 1929 little blurb of an article that credits her as the inventor of the drink. Now, a casual reader might skip over the fact that this article is written from Paris and is covering what the ladies of society are drinking in their women's only bars. So while we now have Molly being credited as the drink's inventor in 1929, it is not in the US, it's in Paris, where Prohibition doesn't exist. So we can dispense with the notion that this was invented to cover up the taste of bathtub gin. However, I have seen a couple of blog posts online that assert that Molly did, in fact, invent the drink in the US to cover the taste of bathtub gin sometime before 1929, but brought it with her to Paris. But there is zero evidence for this, believe me. I've looked.